Welcome to Freaked Out with your psychic medium host, Liz. I apologize about the delay for this video. I know a lot of you guys have been waiting on pins and needles for me to drop it, but unfortunately I had way too much to do last week and also this week to get it out in a timely manner. So I apologize for that. But with that being said, we're here. The Titan episode is finally available. But before we get into the Titan episode, I did want to let you know that I do plan to do the Springfield 3 next, my next case. I'll have that ready for you guys most likely next week, because there are so many layers to this case. And I might have to do a few episodes on this because there's just so much to cover. But I cannot wait to share my findings with you on this. It's pretty intense. I've already started working on it and wow. And then ironically enough, I didn't get a lot of feedback from anyone talking about the Titan. So I just assumed nobody wanted me to cover it. So I was going to skip it. But since you guys have been asking, here we go. So before we get into the details, because this particular episode, we're going to cover more so the ghost haunted side of things in the sense of communicating with those on the Titan and answering a few interesting questions that you guys had for me. But in case some of you don't have these details, we're going to get into this case just a little bit so you have that as well. So if you have not watched the documentary on Netflix for the bigger details, highly recommend you going there too. Ironically enough, as I'm recording this, today is the 18th of June, which is exactly 2 years ago that the Titan imploded. So on June 18th at 8 a.m., the Titan actually began to descend to the Titanic. Approximately 9:45 a.m. was the last known communication received from the Titan. Now, shortly after that, it was believed approximately 1.5 to 1 hour and 45 minutes in, it imploded. Now, due to the nature of the implosion and also being underwater at that kind of pressure, you can only imagine that no one survived because, well, they became liquefied in a sense, unfortunately. And it's difficult to say, but very true. These waters are not meant for us to explore, at least at this point, to this capacity with that equipment and that material. But Stockton Rush felt very differently about that. And he was super, super obsessed with the Titanic and just having this historical thing happen. Technically, he did make history, just not in the way that he was hoping for. Now, let's talk about each one of these members and see what they have to say and all the details in between. So Stockton was the CEO of OceanGate. He was also considered the pilot of the expedition. He was an engineer and an entrepreneur. He wanted to make deep sea explorations more possible for people. He was also known for pushing his boundaries, both scientifically and also with regulations. He looked for loopholes, and other people saw him overly confident, a very maverick vibe. And he believed in everything he was doing, and no one could tell him he was wrong. And if they did, well, he would check out. He ignored warning signs. He had a tech optimism energy. He was like a space pioneer, but for the sea. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I was actually not interested in channeling this guy because something just told me that he was going to be a jackass on the other side. And I guess me having my guard up like that also opened myself up to him being a jackass. Now, he is as arrogant, if not more arrogant now than he was back then, which, okay. He has yet to cross over because he's at a point of obsession. Even now, he's still defending himself. And he's claiming that if he did not die on this excursion, he would have kept on going and everything would have been fine. And the only reason that this was not successful was because the equipment needed to be realigned whatever that means. So we're going to hear his side of the story with these questions, but I'm going to warn you, they're ridiculous. So I had very specific questions and he had very specific answers. So I said, did you know the Titan wasn't safe? And then he decided to ask me a question. He said, since when has innovation ever been safe? I wasn't building a minivan, I was building history. And the Titan worked plenty of times. If it was such a risk, why did people keep coming? So I asked him point blank, why didn't you use industry standard materials? So his response to me was, Titan and carbon fiber are the future. Just because a few dusty submariners, I didn't even know that was a word, didn't like the technology, didn't mean I was wrong. He kept referencing NASA using carbon fiber. So he's basically saying, you know, we have to learn in order to do this, that, and the other to improve things. I said to him, well, what about the safety warnings? He claims that safety is a relevant term. He didn't see anyone complaining when they were filming documentaries with him at 1,200 feet under the sea. He says haters talk, visionaries build. End of story. I asked him if he ever doubted his design, and he said never, not once. I don't operate on doubt. I operate on data and guts. Hard to believe the data side of things. Mostly guts though, which is how we ended up being the most famous sub dive in all of history. So I asked him if he could go back, would he? Stupid question, I know. Absolutely. But next time, I won't bother with passengers who ask so many questions they didn't get it. You can't change the world if you're worried about seatbelts. I am in awe of his energy. I didn't ask him for anything inspirational because I didn't feel like he was very inspirational. He didn't take any accountability for what happened. He doesn't care about the lives lost, including his own. He feels like I got what I wanted, even if it came at a price. His only thing he said about that was, my family's lives were lost, so you live and you learn. Those passengers died, we created a better ship. And this is the last thing I asked him. How do you feel about the fact that other people lost their lives on your sub? Do you feel at all responsible for what happened? And he says, people are acting like I forced them at gunpoint into that sub. They knew exactly what they signed up for. I am sick to death of hearing that. Pioneers, adventurers, you don't explore the deepest parts of the earth without risk, but also revolutionary. If I had just been given the support and freedom that I needed, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So no, I don't sit around feeling guilty. I feel misunderstood, even now. People often ask me, when Donald Trump dies, will you try to channel his energy? Fuck no. This is the exact kind of energy that I would get back. Moving right along, let's go through the rest of the passengers here. So Hamish Harding, who is a British billionaire explorer, he was considered an advisor and a financer. Now, he was known for setting world records, including going to space with Blue Origin and diving deepest parts of the Mariana Trench. He loved exerting adrenaline rushes and extremes and constantly chasing the next best, biggest thing. Now, he was considered like an adventurer, but he was also extremely wealthy. But he wasn't someone who was like throwing around his luxury. He was more so looking for legacy. He knew the risks and wanted to make history and at least be remembered for trying. Now, I didn't really spend a lot of time talking to him and asking him questions because he really didn't have much to say to me. He also feels like he was lied to from Stockton because he did ask Stockton point blank certain questions that were not answered or were kind of wishy-washy answers, and he wished he had listened to his gut because something was telling him something wasn't right. He also had received information from another source, perhaps maybe someone who was on the crew, informing him that it would be more dangerous than he anticipated, but Stockton calmed him down, so he just went with it. He doesn't blame Stockton for killing him, but He just wishes Stockton would have been a little bit more honest, and he probably still would have taken the risk. Paul-Henri was a French Titanic expert. He had a lot of Titanic history. Now, he was a Titanic fanatic, also known as Mr. Titanic. He had been to the wreck site over 30 times. He was a former Navy commander, and I would say the most experienced person on that sub. He was probably the one that took things most seriously. And he also was someone who respected the dangers of the ocean. From what Paul shows me, he instantly regrets going there. He was also not aware of the severity of the situation because Stockton was constantly lying to him. Now, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows a lot of those risks. But when he asked for document paperwork to show him like maintenance or testing, kind of all the things we saw on the documentary, Stockton gave him fake, or rather old documents on like dive 1 or 2 or whatever the case may be. He did not feel like this was his time to pass. He is very disappointed in the outcome. He was just getting to a point in his life where he was just enjoying it a little bit more. He really wishes that he didn't go on this. He also tells me, though, due to me being so knowledgeable of this, I should have just listened to my own gut. So far, every single one of them except Stockton had a gut feeling that something bad was about to happen. He did also want to mention that after he passed on, he did spend a lot of time, obviously being Mr. Titanic, indulging in the waters and communicating with the spirits and getting a feel for their experience on a whole new different level. And he was the first spirit to come to me and tell me, like, no, Stockton's an idiot. Shahzada Dawood, and I apologize for the pronunciation. He was a Pakistani British businessman. Now, he was very rich. He was interested in science and exploring. Joined the voyage because he wanted an experience with his son before his son decided to take off and start his own life. He, unfortunately, did not know any of the information. He didn't understand the mechanics or how any of that worked. So he went into this thinking about how cool it was going to be, what cool things he would be able to talk about, share with people. He wasn't thinking that it would go wrong because why would it? These people are professionals. I believe that he was approached. It wasn't the other way around. I feel like they wanted his money. And hey, yeah, bring your son along too. I feel like he was conned. I don't know if his family members are suing at the moment, but I do feel like that family will end up getting a large sum of money just based on principle for this. He just had such an innocent energy, just wanting to impress his son and be like, look, go forward with your life. They had other plans to go other places as well, but he just wanted to make his son happy and show him like, look at all the wonderful things you have with money. No one is going to experience this. Now, he also is referencing the influencer. So I know that in the documentary, there was an influencer that was also supposed to go, but because of weather did not. And from what he shows me, I guess they may have had conversation, and he says he would trade places with the influencer, at least for his son, in a heartbeat. Like he just hates this for his kid. It breaks his heart that his child had to die so young. Speaking of his son, Suleman, he was only 19 years old and just a student, youngest passenger. He had a bright future, and he was hesitant about this trip. And he wanted to do this for his father for Father's Day. He was into a Rubik's Cubes and said to be very sweet and intelligent. Definitely sensitive, but also hyperventilating. He was a lot more tech savvy than his father was and noticed things a lot more. And even he was like, PlayStation controller, say what? Not even a PS5 remote. You know what I'm saying? Not that that would have made it any better, but still. He noticed a lot of things that did not seem right. And he wishes that he stood up and said, no, we're not doing this, more than anything else. And the father agrees. He wishes he had listened to his son as well. This is a definite tragedy, of course. I'd say that this was the most tragic story of all because he was just a young boy. He wanted a family, he wanted a life, he wanted kids. Most of all, he just wanted to make his dad proud, and thus the reason he went on this journey with his father, because he never said no to him. He also did not trust Stockton whatsoever. He would talk to him and dude would like shut down, be like, okay, little boy, you don't know what you're talking about. Let the grown-ups play. That was the kind of thing that he did. And that also made Suleman very, very upset. Alrighty, now a lot of you guys had some questions in relation to what happened under there right before. Did they instantly die, or was there more to the story? From what I gather, yes, they definitely instantly died. What happened before the implosion? They were getting extreme signs very quickly. I would say about 45 minutes in. You know, all of those pops we were hearing, intense and overall scary. And I keep being shown, like, I don't know if the glass was cracking or not, but they were showing me a crack and they were showing me things popping. So maybe there were bolts or nuts or screws. Things were breaking on this thing even before they got down to the 1 hour mark. And he kept going. Everyone was like, maybe we should go back up. Let's go back up. It was shaking. It was noisy. Nobody can hear each other over everyone else. And Stockton was like in his own world, ignoring everyone and everything around them. And I believe one of them had made a joke about how they were all going to die. And that is exactly what happened. I feel like there were arguments happening as well. And I even feel like they were trying to overthrow Stockton in a way. And again, he didn't give two shits. He was just continuing to carry on. I know what I'm doing. Don't worry. I'm not going to hurt you. Nothing's going to happen to you. Same old bullshit. And it was very, very shaky and very, very loud. Were there any strange or supernatural forces involving the Titan? The Sea Witch is down there. There's a lot of dark energy holding some of those spirits hostage in a sense, but the Titan themselves, I do not see that the people on the Titan were in that situation. I feel like the implosion was not affected, and I don't feel like any of them are stuck. Was it truly an accident, or was it preventable? I mean, it's absolutely preventable. But I also feel like Stockton didn't even care if he lived or died. His goal in life was to make history, and he didn't care about sacrificing his old life. In his mind, it was a very quick way to go. He also didn't really care about anyone else. The only thing he cared about was this. He preferred to do things on his own. In fact, he would have preferred to be there by himself and then all the yapping. Why are so many people so drawn to this excursion, this place, this situation, these risks? It's because it's one of those situations that just still to this day blows people away on how it happened and why it happened, and this big ship and nobody was there and the iceberg, like there was just so many elements. But people are drawn to it because there's a lot of people that have ancestors that were on it. There's a lot of people that are connected. There's people from past lives, like so many different things. And so many people lost their lives, unfortunately. So that side of history will always be with us. And many of our kids, some kids sometimes will talk about being a passenger on the Titanic and believe them. Was the Ocean Gate sub cursed? No, I don't think so. I think it actually held on way longer than it should have. I feel like we sent that thing in there way too many times. In my opinion, it held out a lot longer than it should have. Is there something about the Titanic that doesn't want to be disturbed? Absolutely. The Sea Witch wants us all to come diving in to get and claim our souls from us, at least our energy. But the people just want to be left peacefully. They don't want to be bothered. They just want to carry on, move on, whether that is under the water or up in the good place with their family and friends. They don't want to keep reliving it It is a horrible situation, and they don't want to keep talking about it. Now, I did want to point out as well, there are many things that have happened over in that area. I haven't had the entire list to show you, but I did want to mention a few things. The SS Andrea Doria in 1956, where they were like near Nantucket, Massachusetts, basically closer to the Titanic water. It ended up colliding with the MS Stockholm in a heavy, heavy fog, and 46 people died, and ship sank overnight. Gone. This particular shipwreck has become like the Mount Everest of divings, and it's very eerie to the Titanic, and has claimed the lives of many, many, many divers due to its dangerous depths and twisted metal. And, the sea witch, the bad energy down there, the voodoo energy, the craziness, the darkness, all of that is a factor. There was also an ocean ranger, and that was in 1982. Grand Banks, Newfoundland, close to the Titanic's final location. Now, what happened? A massive oil rig sank in a storm, killing 84 people. Now, the eerie coincidence for this one, it was to be believed to be unsinkable, much like the Titanic, and the sea swallowed it up. That entire stretch of ocean, the North Atlantic from Newfoundland across to the UK, is loaded with unsolved death, energy, wreckages, chaotic water currents. And a lot of intuitives consider this a dead zone for psychic energy. Not at all for me. I feel that energy hella hard. It really grabs at me. So I don't know why other people have a hard time, but it is dark, dark, dark. Some say it's just water, but the ocean remembers. Another question people have asked me, which I found interesting, is were there any invitations to anyone that didn't go that we might find interesting? And what I can tell you is I believe that Elon Musk and Donald Trump both got invitations. Now, I don't think Donald would have done it one way or another. I think it was just about the money. But I feel like Elon, maybe he didn't consider it, but I feel like something happened there where, hey, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back. We can help each other. You like the sky, I like the underneath. And I feel like some sort of conversation took place. But I also believe that Elon was advised by a few of his people not to take this adventure. Imagine if he had, though. I also, though, keep seeing something with a rocket in the sky with some people and not necessarily being lost, but I feel like something's going to happen very similar to the Titan. And I hope I'm wrong, but I just see something big coming. Maybe not this year, but in 2026, I'd say. I also feel like there might be something UFO related to it as well. I don't have all the details, which means to me it's not close enough. But that's a different conversation for a different day. But that is everything I have on the Titan sub today. If you guys have any more questions, please drop them in the comment section. It was very fun doing this episode. Not anticipating Stockton, but other than that, I appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget, next week, Springfield 3, cannot wait. Until next time, guys, stay freaked out.